Okay. So I'll just, if anybody hasn't seen this yet, I'll just like play it through first and then I'll start talking about it. And I'm sorry if it's loud. I hope it's not. Okay. Tried lowering the volume on that because sometimes I've blasted people's ears on video chat by accident. But yeah, this is just an animation that I started working on some time ago. After I finished, I was telling Eddie before, after I finished working on Spider-Verse, that was like back in October, I hadn't actually like opened Maya like for like months, till like February or so, and I felt like I needed to kind of like finish up and make sure that I could still animate. So I just started doing this because I found like a cool Ninja Turtles rig that's like free online. So if you guys want to like test it out, like it's totally out there just to like download and start playing around with. It's actually pretty good. Not like the most comprehensive like facial options or anything, but like in terms of like body movement, like it's perfectly fine for like physical action. But yeah, let's just get down to it. So like I was, sorry, who was asking the question before? What was your name?
Was that Francisco?
Francisco. Okay. Yeah. So Francisco was asking like how I like what do I do like before I shoot reference, and I was basically just saying I sit down and I think about like what the shot's gonna look like. So it's kind of weird, but I'm just at my computer and I'm literally just like kind of looking up in the sky and I'm trying to like visualize what my animation is going to look like. Once I have a basic feel for it, then I'll start like gathering reference. I'll start like drawing thumbnails and stuff. And once I finally do that, I'll actually start. I've got a version here of the shot. This is really crappy, but this is what I started off with. I basically had a sphere that I used for Raph's basic movement. So this is what it looks like. It's really, really crude and not great.
It's good to see. I love it.
But yeah, this is what I started off with, and it's not like I didn't end up using exactly this movement for Raphael's movement, but it's more or less the same. I mainly just like used the sphere just to make sure that I had the right camera before I started animating like, for real.
Yeah.
So camera-wise, what I did was there's a mixture of regular camera movement happening and camera parented to the character happening. So there's points I can tell you when the camera gets parented. So right here, this is just a normal camera movement. You know, like sort of like panning up. There's a bit of a zoom out going on. And then right around here is when I parent the camera to the sphere. And I blend the movement so it looks like seamless. So again, like normal camera movement, then right around here I parent the camera to the sphere, and then I start moving it accordingly. And that's how I can get this orbit going on. Once he gets into this jump, you see how the camera is like sort of like perfectly like orbiting around the character. That's because it's paired to the camera, and all I'm doing is just like maybe it's easier to draw this out. So let's say the camera's here. Right? Let's say this is like a top view or something. The camera's here, and it's connected to this ball. And above this camera, this is not a good representation. There's a cam group, right? So if you look in your outliner, there's a camera and then like a camera group up here. The camera group, the pivot, is where the sphere is, right? So like if I took the camera group and rotated it around, like it's rotating from the sphere. All the movement is happening from the sphere, but the camera itself, like the actual camera, I pushed out to be over here. So every time I move the camera whichever way, like the movement is happening from the middle, but the camera is out here. So that's how I can get like an orbit going on. Like, and I don't have to like make sure that I'm translating the right amount and like rotating the right amount. Like all I'm doing is just like taking that group and rotating it. So yeah, even at this point, like it's still camera group. Like the camera group pivot and like axis is over here, and just like where the frame is right here, like just up close. That's where like the actual camera is. So does that make sense to you guys? I don't know if that's too technical or not.
Is that like a follow cam essentially? And then you know, like a follow cam where you're following. You have like a setup where you can follow the animation and the movements, but you can also, like you said, you can pivot around and you can.
I guess that's another maybe possibly easier way to do that. But
pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, that's just how I approached it. So all throughout this, which is why you can see the sphere is just like sort of in the middle of the camera. Yeah, there's still movement going on, but yeah, it keeps the camera in the character in focus. And then at a certain point, I think it's right here. This is when I detach the camera from the sphere, unparent it, and then just do regular camera movement. This is all like manual movement that I'm doing here. So if you watch it again, you can probably see when it's a normal camera, when it attaches to the character.
Yeah.
And then when it detaches from the character.
Oh, yeah, that's great. What's your, like, do you get any gimbal with the camera setup you have?
I don't think I did.
Because it looks very clean. So.
For some reason, I don't really run into like gimbal that often. Something about the way I work, I don't really run into it. And if I do, I'll just manually move the camera or the character, whatever it is. I'll just manually frame by frame it, and then if it's weird in the graph editor, I'll just use the viewer filter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how that's the technical aspect of how I approach the cameras. In terms of just like artistic, like composition-wise, let's go back to this. I knew in my head that I wanted a moment of him just like in the air and time, and you can like sort of see his like silhouette in the room. So I tried to put like a very unrealistically giant moon in the back.
I think we all use the moon prop. It's fine.
Yeah. I wanted to sort of give it a tad bit of like a realism feel, so I added like a bit of a zoom out going on here. So it's like, yeah, once he starts falling, the camera zooms out to like make more room for Raphael. in the composition. And then once he gets to the wall run, I wanted to have like a sort of Dutch angle, just to like keep it interesting, instead of everything being perfectly straight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I knew I wanted a slow motion moment and
So, can I ask you a quick question?
yeah.
So as you're like doing these crazy flips and like you're choreographing your shot and your beats and everything,
Yeah.
are you just making it up as you go? Like, how do you know you wanted to do like a twist there onto the railing? You know.
That's part of what I was talking about before. Like I would just like sit and try to visualize the animation in my head, and that's where my ideas come out of. So before I actually like got into the scene and stuff, I would just like sit down and like think, and I can basically see everything like happening in my head. Not exactly, but sort of like an amorphous, you know, in your brain version of the animation. And so I knew before I started the animation that I wanted this flip to happen.
Yeah.
Some of it may come organically. I think I remember when I got to this part, I knew that he was going to flip over because in my rough animation, I have him just like going over the railing here. But that's a part that I hadn't quite figured out in my head, but I knew that I was going to have him flip over it somehow. So when I finally got to this part of the animation, that's when I started brainstorming ideas, because then I could physically see, like, you know, what position he's in, and like what he would have to do to get over the railing. Then I could start thinking more specifically what kind of action he had to do. Then as I thought about it, I remembered this like move that like a lot of parkour people do, which is like I think it's called like spin vault.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked up reference of a spin vault. I think that's what it's called, of a dude just like doing this. And just for this section, I just brought in like a clip from YouTube and referenced that just for this part of the animation.
So do you find like as you block out your poses and your shots, you're looking for reference to fill in parts as you go as well? You just keep layering references, right?
Yeah, like not everything was figured out to the T while I was doing this. I just had like that first jump I knew that I wanted to do, and like you know, this stuff that I wanted to do, like the camera like orbiting around, getting like really close to him. So yeah, it's and even if I do have ideas sometimes, like when I'm animating, like sometimes that idea will change and I'll come up with a better idea or something that is better. So it's constantly, you know, changing, I guess, like as I'm working on this. That's the cool and fun thing about like working on personal shots, is that you're not funneled into like a rigid, you know, guideline, or like you don't have to follow director's notes to the T. Like it's sort of like a playground. You can just like have fun with it, and it's a good way to like sort of like stretch your creativity.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. I guess what else can I talk about? Yeah, and I remember this this slide on the wall was a very specific thing that I wanted to do as well. I don't know what it is, but I really like characters sliding on things, like whether it be like grinding or like sliding stuff. So this is a specific beat I wanted. And then here, I just wanted him to, you know, show off his cool psi abilities.
So cool.
Yeah.
So we have a question here from Riardo, who's Alicia.
Sure.
With the 2D effects, did you do it yourself? I guess that goes along with the smear frames as well, the 2D effects that you have.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, all the 2D effects I did myself because nothing against using effects and stuff that are already like pre-made and stuff. Those things are like really beautifully done. But I'd like to be able to say that like I did the entire animation myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I also really just really like doing 2D effects. Like we did so much stuff on Spider-Verse. You know, I just 50% of the fun that I had on that show was like doing all the ink lines and ink smears and stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Once you finish like the animation, you just want to fill in the add the cosmetics to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a dessert. Like the animation itself was like the main course, and then when you start doing like the ink lines and ink smears, that was like the sort of I don't know, like cake or ice cream on top.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, how did you approach the 2D?
so it was a mixture of Maya grease pencil and there's a free software that's called Krita. That's free Krita. It's just free, and it's basically like a Photoshop. And in this software, you can animate. You can do 2D animation.
All right, never heard of it.
Yeah, the friend of mine, well, yeah, you know, Dylan told me about it. And this, I heard about this software while I was doing the 2D effects in Maya Grease Pencil. And if you guys have used Maya Grease Pencil before, then you know that it's really crappy. And I really wish, yeah, I wish that they would update it to be a little more, you know, just better looking in general. So yeah, this, for example, was done in Maya Grease Pencil. All this stuff. I don't have the 2D animation background, but I just really like doing effects and stuff. And I'm using a lot of things that I learned like while working on Spider-Verse on this.
Yeah.
So you can see that there's like a multiple hand here, like a bunch of like ink lines and stuff attached to it.
So on Spider-Verse, you would, you know how with that multiple hand smear frame there, we would clone the mesh.
Yeah.
Would you be doing something similar, or did you just replicate it?
All drawn.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to go through the trouble of bringing in like another rig of any sort, so I just drew a hand use pencil. Yeah, this was grease pencil as well. I did afterwards, after I finished my animation, go into some of these frames and like clean them up in Krita, because you can only do so much with my grease pencil. So this is like a mixture of like grease pencil and Krita. Yeah, and I just sort of want to really get in there with like the ink lines and ink smears and stuff. Okay, so this is when it starts getting into just Krita stuff. Like these effects are just Krita, just a smoke effect.
Yeah, right. So you did all that yourself as well? You animated?
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah.
2D effects, or just any effects for that matter, just really add quite a lot to your animation. Yeah, that's still Krita, and so is this. All these lines. Yeah, and like for some of this stuff, like I did have to look up reference, because like I would have the idea and I'd be like, I know that I want these ink lines. I know that I want these smears, but I don't know what exactly they should look like, or what's the best way to draw them to give the maximum effect. So I would look at reference like from like different animes or like video games. Like I looked at a lot of I don't know if any of you guys have played Dragon Ball Fighters, but that game looks amazing and it has like some really great effects in there.
Yeah, right.
So I took some cues from that and tried to incorporate that into my animation. Yeah, this stuff is all Krita as well. The sparking and the debris and smoke and stuff.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, same here.
What about the glowy stuff there?
Yeah, that's Krita as well.
And you can get highlights and stuff like.
Well, it's just it's literally it's basically like Photoshop. So like when you're choosing your brushes, you can choose like a what is that soft like feathery looking brush, and if you just choose the right colors, you can get like a glow effect on it. Yeah, so like this is just like first layer would be like just like the hard edged like drawing, and then I would go over it on top with like a very, very soft brush to give it that glow. And it really, I forget which anime was doing this. A bunch of animes with like sword fighting and stuff do this stuff like I don't know if you guys know like Kenshin or like Ninja Scroll or any anime that has like movies and sword fighting and stuff like that. They always do like a really cool glow on like the sword swipes, and I wanted to get that same feeling. Yeah. So I just tried to incorporate it into animation. This move is actually an homage to I don't know how many of you play games, but do you guys know Devil May Cry? Anybody? Well, there's a game called Devil May Cry, and like it's like a crazy action game.
With Dante.
One of the moves that Dante does is basically like this crazy like spin move, and he uses like nunchucks for it, I think. And I really, really love that move. So like I just did the same thing, just kind of as an homage to Dante's move in the game.
It's beautiful. Love it. I love that you just whatever you think's cool, you just throw it in there because you can, and it's like, and it just made across like that's what you're gonna do, so I'm gonna do it.
Nobody's stopping me. Nobody's telling me what to do. It's just
there's no client saying move that leg to a tail or something.
So, I mean, the only downside to nobody telling you what to do is that, like, when I look at this now, like, there are things that I really wish I would have polished more, and I just couldn't see it because I was working on it for a while, and like, I didn't have another pair of eyes stuff. So that's the downside. But in terms of like creativity, like it's great. It's like an open canvas.
What about the even like the sparks here? They feel like like they're heavy. Like if the way they bounce.
Yeah, this is all done in Krita as well.
Yeah, Krita as well. Yeah, it's awesome. It feels like it's actual like particles in Maya, just the way it bounces.
It would probably be easier just to like actually learn particles and like put it in my shot, because it was like it's kind of hard to make sure that these looked right. Yeah, so there was a lot of effort spent into this stuff, but that's like half the fun of this.
The move at the end.
Yeah, I also wanted to. I knew that I wanted to have a beat of him doing this, like a little like wink and like a clicky noise that he makes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like Raphael's like super cocky.
Yeah, yeah. So you're
Um,
obviously a Ninja Turtles fan. That's why you made it as well.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not like like a diehard fan or anything, but I did grow up like watching the live action movies quite a bit. And once I found this rig online, I was like, I hadn't really seen anybody. I'd seen some like cool tests that people have done, but nothing against them, but like nothing like substantial.
Yeah, yeah,
So I was like, oh, I'll just go for it. Like a fun animation with it.
yeah, yeah. And I guess you and this was during Spider Verse, right? Or afterwards?
No, this was after Spider-Verse. Like, this was
Oh, okay.
after I finished Spider-Verse and had it animated for months.
So after you won the Annie Award for Best Animation.
Um, I started it before I won, I think. But yes, I did win. And that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, how was that? How was that experience getting your
Uh,
award?
it was both very, very cool and very, very bizarre because I was in a room filled with directors that I admire. And,
Yeah, yeah.
I've watched their movies and stuff. Like
Such as? Who was there?
Pete Doctor,
Yeah,
Brad,
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool.
John Musker, some animation heavyweights. So
Sure, yeah.
being in there and like I'm having like a beer or a drink and I turn around and I'm like, oh hey, there's that dude. Oh hey, it's like all these other people and I'm like, what am I doing here?
Yeah. Did you say g'day to him?
Some of them I did, yeah. I don't know if they remember me, but
Yeah, you got on stage. Of course I remember you. I have a question here from, I'm just looking at questions. There's one from Bash. He's a mate from Australia. He said, how do you work rhythm into your shots? So do you try and hit certain beats for the overall timing of your shot, just to get something that's flowing?
So for beats, I think it's kind of hard to explain. When I'm thinking of the animation, or when I'm thinking of like any personal animations that I have like brewing in my head, I think a lot about like beats and like timing of beats and like rhythm and stuff. I don't know how to explain it, but if you plan out your beats like a certain way, there's something about it that's like satisfying. For example, like if you watch like action movies and stuff like that, like let me know if this is like getting off topic or not. But if I'm like watching like action movies, like a Jet Li or Jackie Chan movie, like the way they fight, there's like a certain like rhythm to it, like punch, 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 block, dodge. Like there's something like satisfying about like the timing of the way all that stuff happens.
Yep.
And a lot of people have observed, and even I think martial artists themselves have said that it's like a dance, like it's a choreography, it's a dance choreography. And like the way they plan out the timing of these things is like there's something satisfying about it. So a lot of the time when I'm thinking about my animation, I try to think about what kind of beat timing would be satisfying to view.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I don't know how that's something that you can start getting good at or start like practicing, other than to just like start watching like action movies, I guess, and paying attention to like the rhythm and timing of things.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I always I guess I'll try and tell everyone that to create like timing in a shot, like flow, you want to break it up. So your shot, for example, Raphael wouldn't just jump up, you know, jump up in the air, hit the ground, like kick, jump. It'd be more like jump, hang in the air, and then fall down, jump, and then slice attack, and then like you kind of break up the beats like that. So you just want like even like boom, 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 boom. You want like boom, 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 kind of thing. Even texture, I guess, in timing.
Yeah, I think for this animation in particular, I wanted it to be a sort of, at a certain point, I just wanted it to be like an onslaught of things happening, like for the viewer to be like, whoa, like what's happening? Like the camera's going crazy, like he's flipping around. There's just like a lot of things going on. So that particular moment like happens like, you know, here when he like starting from like this jump, like he jumps, goes into slow-mo, and then boom, 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 all these things like start happening. But then I give it room to breathe. But just like when he lands, he's just like staying still, and then pacing wise, it just like lets the viewer kind of be like, okay, look what's happening now. Then he goes at it again. Yeah, he goes. Sorry. Looks up and goes 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, it's hard to explain, and I'm sorry if I'm not answering the question properly.
No, so for that example, like when he was doing the stuff with the sides, he'd be like, the timing was like boom, 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 and then jumps in the air, and then boom.
Yeah,
so, like even it wasn't just. Like,
yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that it had like a strong ending, so it'd be like 1, 2, boom.
Yeah, and the jump and the hang in the air was anticipation for that last hit. Yeah.
I think it's something that you get a better feeling for, like the more you animate, the more you watch movies, and the more observant you are. Yeah, I think for me, I watched a ton of like action movies when I was a kid, and I still do. And I think that's sort of stuff that's just been like, ingrained in me. So I guess what I'm saying is just watch more movies.
Watch more movies, play more video games, just animate later. Yeah.
Watch Work. That movie was awesome.
We have Alfonso asking a question, who is also our next speaker. He's going to be doing a webinar on creature animation.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And he's an old mate of mine as well. He asked, what's your blocking workflow? So do you block in spline or step? So I guess after your, say, your sphere layout, that's all down, do you block in step keys with your poses?
Yeah, so it's in stepped. The way I work, I mean, I guess this is a different kind of example. It's a little different from the way I normally work because there's a lot of crazy camera stuff going on. But in general, if I didn't have like a crazy camera, like if it's just still like this, then I work in blocked. And I work in blocked like with the crazy camera stuff as well. But like what I'll do is I showed you guys this. I showed you guys this like ball reference that I have. I'll actually like parent Raphael's cog to this ball just so I can get that basic movement in there and have something to work with. But when I actually start putting in keys for like the rest of his body, like his limb and stuff, like that's all still plot. And I basically block to the point. Like I like doing detailed blocking, so I'll block to the point where there's no more frames to block in.
Yeah.
So it's just like I'll start broad, and then get more detailed and detailed, and I end up just having like keys on like every single frame.
Yeah.
For some people, that sounds like a nightmare.
I prefer that too. You have control over your poses on every frame.
I'd rather have just complete control over my frames.
Yeah.
I end up just having a keyframe on every frame.
It's just like 2D traditional, right? You just draw every frame, and then you have a shot.
Yeah. Of course, sometimes you might end up with like jitter with that kind of stuff. So, when I'm polishing a shot, if there's like, a sort of clean linear movement, sort of like this, I'll make sure to like get rid of some keys, just to make sure you get that like smooth movement.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I work. Who was asking a question? Alfonso?
Yes, yeah, fonts.
Okay.
Yeah, who's our next speaker?
Cool.
For creature animation. So come back to that, guys, in July sometime. I think Yogesh was asking a question about how to. I can't find it, but I'm trying to look into my memory bank. I think he was asking about what makes a good, strong pose, I guess. Because that's very important, and it's very apparent in your shot. Like, you got some great poses. Clear pose.
You want... I guess you want a good silhouette. That's like the first thing that I think of when it comes to poses. So like this section in particular, I wanted to make sure that you have like cool, readable poses with this size. So like I actually drew thumbnails for this. I don't have it with me, but like this was one thumbnail that I drew. This was another thumbnail that I drew. I just wanted to make sure that it was like the most extreme version of whatever he was doing. This was another pose that I drew out. What was this? I guess just silhouette, and like there's another factor to it that's a little harder to describe, and that's just, for me, that's like the cool factor. And like a lot of my stuff, I want to make sure it feels like cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something like Josh, our Anim Sequence Spider-Verse, talked a lot about as well, like the animation style. He just wanted, like, when it came to like the action and stuff, like the word he threw around all the time was just cool. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I also try to incorporate. So there's that, and just making sure that you can see everything. That there's like, have your negative space. Then like all the poses are readable. And you've got like a cool line of action going on. Even from like here, this was a little bit hard, because everything like sort of like foreshortened, and I just wanted to make sure that you had just like a cool general feel to it. Like he's just this like sort of like arrow just coming in your face. And I think at least for this type of stuff, like physical action type of stuff, like the more you watch like action movies, or like I play like a ton of video games too, so like so much of that stuff has just been like ingrained in my brain. So yeah, for like the cool factor part, I would just say like watch movies, play games, because I'm 99% sure like that's how all that stuff just comes to me naturally. So.
Yeah, that's I always explain as well to I guess the students that it's the relationship between the camera and the hero or the character in shot. So if and that also determines, I guess, yeah, the cool factor, like how you play with both of them together. So they're kind of working together to make the shot more impactful and just more exciting.
Yeah, like I guess, for example, to go off of that, when he lands here and he's in this pose, and the camera's orbiting and going into this pose, he's not completely still. Like, it's not like he just landed here and it's the same pose throughout. I had to make sure that as the camera's moving, that you could still read him. So, like, having his like arm stick out here, having his arm stick out here, having like a bend here, stuff like that. All that stuff, like, I had to adjust as the camera is like moving around him, to make sure that that's readable.
Yeah, you even added in that like that spark, that gleam on the camera track across. So that's adding in like a cool factor, like to make that transition interesting, because like he's in that pose, but then you added in that that right there.
Yeah, this whole camera move was done specifically so I could do this this anime like spark thing. Just because I love putting that stuff.
It's brilliant.